Hey, Vortex, what's going on, man? All right, let's dig into this. I'll try and keep it short, but no promises. So Jeremy Rubin's tweet storm looks super cool. So from what I can tell, he's using Bitcoin scripting language to physically settle a difficulty swap or a difficulty derivative between two peers with no central party. That is badass. Jeremy is 10 times the engineer I'll ever be. So it's always awesome to watch really smart people do really cool things. However, from my experience, the hardest part about this is actually pricing difficulty and being a difficulty market maker. How the contract settles, whether the contract settles at the CME, whether the contract settles here in my bedroom, whether the contract settles on Jeremy's smart contract platform, I don't think people really care too much. It's actually who's going to price it, who's going to make markets on difficulty, who's going to do the quantitative analysis to find the correlations in the market and forward price the next adjustment is the hard part. And that's what I do and what I've been trying to work on. Now, the reason it's so difficult is because it's not a natural two-sided trade. And I'll try and explain this as quick as I possibly can. So the point is that we want a miner to be able to long a difficulty derivative, right? So a miner is just like an agriculture farmer. The miner has an expected production output, let's say 10 BTC a month. And if difficulty doubles, now their output is maybe 5 BTC a month because Bitcoin got twice as hard to produce. So they are inherently short difficulty. They would be the long side of a difficulty derivative. Now, the question is, who's the reverse? Who is inherently long difficulty and would have no problem taking the short side of a difficulty derivative? Jeremy in his tweet storm identifies a hodler as this person. So a hodler, his point is a hodler is long Bitcoin, so therefore inherently long difficulty, which I believe to be true, right? As a hodler, I think Bitcoin's going to go up over time, and I expect difficulty to go up with Bitcoin. I think hash rate will be attracted to come onto the network, and mining will become more and more appealing to more and more people. And so I, therefore, am inherently long difficulty because I'm long Bitcoin. I have a long Bitcoin bias. So Jeremy thinks I should short a difficulty derivative as some form of insurance. If Bitcoin crashes and difficulty goes to zero, I should put a short on just to protect my HODL stash. In theory, that makes sense. In practice, though, it's not a great insurance tool because it physically settles in the asset that's crashing to zero, right? If you can imagine, Bitcoin has a catastrophic bug, difficulty shooting to zero, and I'm getting paid out all this Bitcoin that's worth nothing. There's much better hedges and insurance tools if I want to protect myself of being overexposed to longing Bitcoin. So there actually it isn't too easy to find the other side of the miner, is my point. There are, in theory, certain people, but in practice, it's not easy. And it takes a lot of quantitative analysis and studying correlations between other assets and other markets to make difficulty markets. And so for us, sometimes we even require counterparties to hold at least $10 million in assets to prove their legitimacy. And we just physically settle the contract ourselves. So I think Jeremy's platform is super cool. If it takes off, Jeremy, I will be your number one difficulty market maker. That's what I do. But I don't identify settlement as the big problem. I think the big problem is just pricing difficulty and building this market from the ground because it's not very natural. So I'm going on 4 minutes here. I hope that made sense. If it didn't, fuck me. I'm sorry. Any questions, feel free to just hit me up. Good work, Jeremy. Keep it up, man.